Hello and welcome to Book Beat. I'm your host, Sue Ellen Zagrabelny. Today we are at Skyrock Farms in Medina, Minnesota. We will meet Bill Nunn, who has a collection of Calliopes, street organs, and carousels. Welcome to Book Beat. Today we are meeting Bill Nunn from Medina, Minnesota, who has a collection of street organs and carousels. We will be talking to him, and he will be showing us some of the instruments that he has and talking about how they've been restored. Bill, welcome to Book Beat.
Thank you, Sue.
Could you tell us about the instrument behind us?
Sure. This was made by the Merengue Company in 1905, and they were made before you had any kind of recorded music or any type of broadcast music. So either you had a live band or orchestra, or you had some type of a mechanical musical device, and this really took the place of an orchestra.
Oh, I see. Does this organ play?
Oh, definitely. Plays as it did in 1905.
Oh my goodness, can we hear something?
We certainly can.
How did you come to have this fabulous instrument and the other things that are in this building?
Well, I started collecting carousel animals, and I realized they were really had a lot of history behind them. Who carved them? A lot of them were carved by immigrants, came to this country, really spoke no English, but were very talented. And from there, the collection grew, and we wanted a small carousel, and needed, of course, the music that was provided for the carousel, which was with different types of organs. And from there, the collection just grew.
Oh my goodness. Well, we'll be seeing that carousel in a little bit, I suspect. What about this instrument?
This was built by the Guys firm in Vermont, Belgium. It was built in 1914. It was actually the last organ built before the Great War. So World War I was started in 1914 and lasted through 1919, which time really no businesses really produced much in that time due to the war effort. And so this was the last one built. As a matter of fact, there was an inscription inside the instrument that talked of the war and said that the German barbarians would be clobbered and long live Belgium. And it was sealed up totally, never to be found in the instrument. But that was how much of the people's soul really that worked on this went into the instruments.
Magnificent. Now, did you restore the case, or did it come that way?
No, this actually the instrument came to this country without the facade, because originally this was built as a dance organ and was in a restaurant in Belgium. And then when times got tough, it went out on the fair. And so when the organ went derelict, quit working, they sold the organ, but kept the facade because that was still the background for some of the ride. Oh. So the person who actually ended up with the organ lived in Texas, and he tracked down the facade through some friends of his in Belgium, and they were reunited. But the facade had been painted over and all the original artwork covered up with a kind of a tan enamel paint. So I spent one whole winter scraping off the paint to find the original artwork underneath.
And then restored it?
And restored it back to original, yes.
Oh my goodness. That is beautiful. And now do any of these figures move?
The figures move. The band mistress in the front keeps time to the music. And the two, we call them bell ringers on either side. And they also move, so they actually play the bells that they hold.
Excellent. Can we hear this one?
Of course.
And you have something in your hand. What is this?
This is one of the books that this is how the organ plays. So each track represents a different note or different function, and it's a binary system, so it's either on or off, and actually developed for weaving cloth in 1800 by a person named Jacquard, and they still use Jacquard looms for weaving lace even today. And then the music people got a hold of the system in late 1800s, and then of course Control Data and everyone else got a hold of the system, and now we have computers.
Yes. So could you show the front of it?
So this has to be arranged by a music marker or a musician, and he actually decides what notes it's going to play, when and where, because none of these machines are chromatic. So in other words, they're all missing notes. It'd be like playing the piano with maybe a third of the keys gone.
Oh, so they have to arrange the music to fit the notes.
For each instrument,
For
yes.
each instrument, so you can't switch off.
Right, correct. Each instrument has its own sound, as if, just like each orchestra or band would have its own sound, depending on the instrument. So they're all pneumatic. In other words, they're all playing with pressurized air, and all the pipes are made to sound different. So we have violins, and we have flutes, and we have oboes, and we have clarinets, and we have trumpets, and trombones, and saxophones, as well as all different traps, so far as we have xylophone, and bells, and drums, and tambourine, and woodblock. So altogether, it's a full orchestra.
That is something. I just was amazed to see the louvers in the middle moving, and you could.
And that lets out more volume, so it gives it more expression. And you want to, just like a musician would have a more forceful note when he wanted it to sound stronger.
Okay, excellent. I'm trying something new today. I've got my questions on my phone. Good afternoon and welcome to BookBeat. Reading books is the key to an enlightened society. You want a key light back there, right?
I'm just gonna borrow this.
I think we're about ready, aren't we, Jesse? Good. BookBeat is a show about books and book readers.
A very odd combination of topics.
We interview book club members. How are your books chosen? And film their discussions.
Trying to find happiness and love in her life.
We also provide tips for forming book clubs
I think you just have to find a group of interested book readers.
and books that are current that might be enjoyable to read. In a society where everything is instantaneous, we're losing that sense of depth that reading can bring that other media doesn't. My name is Sue Ellen Zagrabelny.
Well, I can't guarantee Oprah, but I can guarantee Channel 20.
Look for BookBeat Sundays at 5 p.m., repeated Monday at 1 a.m. and 9 a.m. on Channel 20. See you then. Okay, we have another instrument here that looks like a dragonfly in the front. What can you tell us about this instrument?
Actually, this was made by the Gavioli Company, also a parent company, and it was built for export to the U.S., and it was on a carousel here for a long time. And it's actually owned by a person in Chicago that owns a sideshow. And he plans on putting this in a truck and taking it around and accompanying the sideshow.
Interesting. Can we hear it, please?
Of course.
Did you have to restore this instrument?
This one is restored by Dick Locomo in Merrill, Wisconsin. And then the artwork was done by Linda McDonald, who's from Texas.
And I understand she does other restoration work?
Linda comes up, yes, from time to time to help me with the art. Linda's a real artist. So I can do some of the work, like I do the gold leafing on here and the silver leafing, but Linda is the one that really does the real art.
Oh, it's obviously a labor of love, and it has been done very beautifully. What else would you like to show us? What about this organ over here?
And to do justice, you kind of have to spend enough time here. So that's why we do it one Sunday every month.
How much are tickets?
We just invite anyone in.
Oh, take donations?
No,
Oh.
not for that, no.
Okay.
For tours we charge.
Yeah.
But
Oh, that's
not
what I meant.
for-
How much for the tour?
We just charge $8 a person.
Oh, that's.
But for the open houses, it's just come ahead.
You said the next one's in December?
You know, the last Sunday of November, whatever that is.
Okay.
This instrument is in a, looks like a truck. What can you tell us about that?
This is in a trailer, and that allows me to take it out to different places. We have meetings where we go to rallies. We also go to different events with this to play it for the public.
Oh, and how did you come to get the instrument? I noticed it says Antwerp, Belgium.
Right. This was made by the Theodore Mortier Company in Antwerp, Belgium in the early 1920s. And again, it was built mainly for entertaining people in probably a dance club or a dance hall or a restaurant. And I ended up with it because a person had bought it and he had it up in a barn in Mora, Minnesota. And so this was actually one of the second instrument I ever bought. And I bought it just because I just went and saw it and just fell in love with it. I knew nothing about them at the time.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a learning curve.
And you restored it?
I restored it. This was the first instrument that I actually restored this.
Oh, wow. And I noticed when it was playing that down here it looks like a xylophone sometimes.
Right, we call that a glockenspiel or a barbell. And the top is actually wooden, and we call that a xylophone.
Okay. And then the other pipes are?
Right, and then the different pipes. In the front pipes, we have a flute, and they're actually tuned a little celeste, meaning that they're just a little off, and so it makes it a little bit more of a warm tone. And on the side we have cellos, and behind those we have saxophones, which actually reed pipe. We have kind of an oboe, a cross between oboe and trumpet pipe. The bigger pipe in the back are the trombones. And those are actually mic'd, much like you'd have a tuba. I'll do another out.
Okay, I noticed this instrument has Dusseldorf on it. What can you tell us about that instrument?
This was built in 1919 in Dusseldorf, Germany, by the Richter brothers. The Bruder means brothers, and most businesses were either family businesses, and oftentimes the brothers went in business, and so a lot of times you had the Bruder in front of the name. It was built as a fair organ, so it was built strictly for use out on the carnival. It spent its whole life in Holland in different carousels and a swing boat ride, in the trailer. And what was nice about the trailer was that you didn't have to move the organ as much. You could build the ride up around the wagon that the organ was in, because these are fairly heavy. It saved it a little bit of time. So you can see this organ is in pieces, and it gives you a little bit of an idea of how they break apart. So the top pipes and the side chests each assembled together. And it makes transportation a little bit easier, moving it a little bit easier.
Okay. And where does this organ come from?
This was made in Belgium also. Interestingly, this was made from parts and pieces of other organs. We tend to think of antiques as being original, but they were resourceful just as we are today. And so this actually started, even though it was made in 1905, it started with a Gallioli barrel organ that was probably built in the late 1800s. And then from there, when that lost its usefulness, it was recycled into this organ as a dance organ.
Okay. Now, the pieces that are in the front of the ladies with the garlands, are those restored?
These are parts and pieces of the theater.
I can see on the back of this organ there is a crank. Does that mean that this is a people-powered organ?
Definitely.
And how exactly do you make that work?
Well, this was pushed around the streets of Rotterdam, actually, before I bought it, earning a living. And the organ grinder would go around, and of course he would play his music and ask for donations. Mm-hmm. And this actually turns a 4-chambered bellows in the bottom, which provides the air. So everything else is pneumatic, except for the keys, which actually have little levers that are spring-loaded. And those are depressed whenever there's not a hole. Well, every time there's a hole, of course, one of the little fingers pops up, and that's what tells the valve, opens a valve, which opens another valve, which opens another valve, which actually lets air into the pipes and actually makes the music.
And these are the various pieces that you've either had to buy or make yourself,
right.
Correct?
So each one of these is one song or one tune.
I'm trying something new today. I've got my questions on my phone. Good afternoon and welcome to Book Beat. Reading books is the key to an enlightened society. You want a key light back there, right?
Just gonna borrow this.
I think we're about ready, aren't we, Jesse? Good. Book Beat is a show about books and book readers.
A very odd combination of topics.
We interview book club members. How are your books chosen? And film their discussions.
Trying to find happiness and love in her life.
We also provide tips for forming book clubs
I think you just have to find a group of interested book readers.
and books that are current that might be enjoyable to read. In a society where everything is instantaneous, we're losing that sense of depth that reading can bring that other media doesn't. My name is Sue Ellen Zagrabelny.
Well, I can't guarantee Oprah, but I can guarantee Channel 20.
Look for Book Beat Sundays at 5 p.m., repeated Monday at 1 a.m. and 9 a.m. on Channel 20. See you then. I recognize this as a home theater organ. What can you tell me about it?
Originally built in 1929 by the Barton Organ Company in Wisconsin, was installed in a movie theater in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And that was back in the day before they had talkies and everything was silent. And so the organist would accompany the film. So he would watch the film ahead of time, and then he could play the music when the villain came on. He'd play the villainous music or happy music when there was or romantic music when there was a love scene. And then it also has all the different sound effects too. So it has everything from a train whistle to a boat horn to a horse hooves to a cowbell, sirens, everything. And so it allowed one musician to really play a whole orchestra at the same time.
Excellent. Is the organ playable or is it?
No, this is in the process of being restored. And it has 1,000 or more pipes and other tuned percussion. And that goes in the chamber. Actually, it's hidden from view. It has swell shades that let out the volume. So it's in the process of being installed this winter.
This is a workshop, it looks like. What can you tell us about it?
These are actually 2 punches that were purpose-built just to do punch music. And it's running off of a computer program that tells it where each hole needs to be punched. So in the past, I would be doing this by hand. And the disadvantage of that is it takes about 3 hours of my punching to make 1 minute of music on a machine.
Oh my goodness, that
So
is...
this is, I can be doing something else, and this continues to do my work.
How do you get the medium that it punches? It looks like cardboard of some sort.
Well, in this particular case, I'm recutting old music. So this is old that came from actually the fairground in England, but it's very derelict in bad condition because, again, it's close to 100 years old. So I repair this as best we can and scan it into a computer. And then I have a musician that goes through and corrects any mistakes, much like an editor would do if we were republishing a book.
Okay.
And catching any mistakes, tweaking anything that needs fixing. And then from there we put it into another punch program, and it comes out as a new book.
It's thinking.
It has several fail-safe items, so if it senses a punch doesn't go down or it needs to recenter itself, then it does that. So it's fairly smart.
Okay. That is fascinating. And where have you gotten most of your older books of the music?
Well, we're always looking. This particular group I got from, I bought on eBay actually, from
Really?
in England, of old music, yes.
And do you have someone arranging music for you for new music? Or?
I do. I have two people currently working for me now. A 15-year-old boy in Kentucky, Mikey Mills, and another Alexei Romanskov, another person in Maple Grove.
Really? This is most interesting. Today on BookBeat, we will be featuring books about carousels and street organs. Later, we will go to visit a collection of carousels and street organs in Medina, Minnesota. The first book we have to look at is Carousel Carving, Miniature to Full-Size, Classic and Original. You can see from the cover, it's very fine carving. There are pictures of carousel horses that are in use. Various rides that have carousel horses and other conveyances for people to ride on. There are plans for various carousel horses and pictures of various size carousel horses. The author of this book is Bruce A. White, and this is available at the Hennepin County Library. Coney Island, The People's Playground by Michael Immerso is in black and white, but has some fascinating history about carousels and various amusement park rides. Page 89 to 95 show Page 88 to 95 shows various carousels. Despite the black and white pictures, this is a very good book for the history of Midway rides. I found two books in the library for children that feature carousels. The first one is by Elise Clevin, called A Carousel Tale, and the main character is some kind of lizard who likes carousels. And there she is. This would be appropriate to read to young readers or for preschoolers, or young readers to read to themselves. The second book that I found is called Eliza's Carousel Lion by Lynn A. Straw. There's some colorful pictures of carousel animals. Again, this is an easy read for the lower grades or for preschoolers to have read to them. Very interesting pictures and the story of Eliza and her carousel lion. Thank you for joining us at BookBeat today. We hope you've enjoyed the show. Please contact us at the email or phone number listed below. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.